Hello, friends, and welcome back to Intelligent Pod. I'm your host, Sophie Lane, and I am absolutely thrilled to spend the next half hour or so with you. Whether you're on your morning commute, winding down after a long day, or just carving out a little you time to learn something new. Here at Intelligent Pod, we dive deep into the world of intelligent systems, digital society, and how technology can empower rather than divide us. Today, we're tackling a topic that's deeply relevant to anyone who interacts with technology, which, let's face it, is pretty much all of us. We're talking about algorithmic bias, what it is, why it matters, and most importantly, how we can build fairer AI systems. If you've ever wondered why your social media feed seems to reinforce your existing beliefs, or why facial recognition sometimes gets it spectacularly wrong, this episode is for you. And if you're in tech, design, education, or just a curious soul, stick around, because understanding algorithmic bias is critical for the future we're all building together. Let's start with a clear definition. Algorithmic bias refers to systematic and repeatable errors in a computer system that create unfair outcomes, such as privileging one group over others. In other words, when artificial intelligence, those algorithms that help decide everything from which ads you see to whether you qualify for a loan, produces results that are skewed or discriminatory, that's algorithmic bias. Now you might be thinking, wait, aren't computers supposed to be objective? That's a great question. We often think of machines as impartial. After all, they don't have feelings, right? But here's the twist. Algorithms learn from data, and that data comes from us, flawed, quirky, beautifully complicated humans. If the data reflects our biases, the algorithms are likely to reflect them too. Let me give you a quick, relatable example. Imagine you're applying for a job. Many companies now use AI to sift through resumes and identify top candidates. But if the AI is trained on data from previous hires, and those hires were, say, overwhelmingly from a particular demographic, the algorithm may inadvertently learn to favor applicants from that same group. The result? Qualified candidates from other backgrounds could get overlooked, not because of their abilities, but because of biased historical data. Here's a striking statistic. A 2018 MIT study found that commercial facial recognition systems misidentified darker-skinned women 34% of the time, compared to just 0.8% for lighter-skinned men. That's not a small gap. And it's not just about software, it's about real people being misrepresented, underserved, or even put at risk. So why does this happen? To answer that, let's explore a few key perspectives: psychological, scientific, and cultural. First, the psychological perspective. Humans naturally categorize and make shortcuts to process the overwhelming amount of information we face every day. Psychologists call these cognitive biases, like confirmation bias, where we favor information that confirms our pre-existing beliefs. When programmers build systems, they may unintentionally encode these biases, even when they're trying to be neutral. A fascinating real-life anecdote. In 2016, news broke that a popular AI-powered photo tagging app had labeled photos of Black people as gorillas, a horrifying error. The company behind the app responded quickly, but the damage was done. It turned out the training data had far fewer images of Black faces, leading the algorithm to make grossly inaccurate and deeply offensive assumptions. This incident wasn't just a technical glitch. It was a lesson in how unconscious bias can seep into the technology we trust. Now let's look at the scientific perspective. Technically speaking, most modern AI uses a process called machine learning, where algorithms look for patterns in massive datasets. If those datasets are incomplete, unbalanced, or skewed toward one group, the algorithm's predictions will be too. And sometimes, bias can even creep in because of the way we define success. For example, if an AI used to screen job applications is trained to favor the characteristics of successful previous employees, and those employees were mostly male, the system will likely prefer male candidates, even if gender has nothing to do with job performance. Here's where the academic studies come in. A landmark paper published in Science in 2019 analyzed a popular healthcare algorithm used by hospitals to predict which patients would need extra medical care. It turned out that the algorithm was much less likely to refer Black patients for additional care, not because of differences in health, but because it used healthcare spending as a proxy for need. Historically, less money had been spent on Black patients due to systemic inequalities, so the algorithm learned to underestimate their health needs. The researchers found that correcting this bias could double the number of Black patients receiving extra care. Talk about the high stakes of algorithmic fairness. Let's not forget the cultural perspective. Technology doesn't exist in a vacuum. It reflects the values, assumptions, and blind spots of the society that creates it. In some cultures, certain groups are overrepresented in data, while others are invisible. The people who build AI systems, often a relatively homogeneous group, may not anticipate the diverse ways their creations will be used, or the diverse people they will affect. It's a reminder that diversity in tech isn't just a buzzword. It's a necessity for building systems that serve everyone. So, what can we do about it? How do we build fairer AI systems? I want to offer you some actionable advice, whether you're a developer, a decision maker, or simply a tech-savvy citizen who wants better from your digital world. First, diversify your data. If you're building or deploying AI, look critically at the data you're using. Does it represent the full spectrum of users, or does it leave some groups out? The more diverse and representative your data, the more likely your system will be fair. Second, audit your algorithms. Just as we audit financial systems for fraud, we need to audit AI systems for bias. That means regularly testing outcomes, looking for disparities, and being honest about where things fall short. There are even open-source tools now that can help with bias detection. Third, involve diverse voices in the creation process. If you're developing an AI system, bring in people from different backgrounds, disciplines, and perspectives. That might mean hiring more diverse teams, but it could also mean consulting with community groups or users who will be affected by your technology. Fourth, be transparent. Explain how your AI systems work, what data they use, and how decisions are made. If users understand the process, they can spot problems and hold creators accountable. And finally, advocate for ethical standards. Whether through regulation, industry guidelines, or public pressure, we all have a role to play in demanding that technology serves everyone fairly. That could mean supporting organizations that champion digital rights, or simply having conversations about these issues in your own circles. Let's take a moment to recap the big ideas from today's episode. Algorithmic bias isn't just a technical issue, it's a human one. It arises because our data, systems, and even our definitions of success reflect the biases of our society. But the good news is, we're not powerless. By diversifying data, auditing algorithms, involving varied perspectives, being transparent, and advocating for ethical standards, we can build AI systems that are more fair, more just, and more inclusive. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with a reflective thought. Technology is powerful. It can magnify our best intentions or our worst prejudices. The more we understand how bias works, the more we can harness AI to make the world a little fairer, one algorithm at a time. Thank you so much for joining me on Intelligent Pod today. If you found this episode helpful, I'd love it if you left a review wherever you listen. It really helps new listeners find the show. For show notes, links to studies I mentioned, and more resources on building fairer AI, head over to intelligentpod.com. And if you have thoughts, stories, or questions about algorithmic bias, or suggestions for future episodes, please email me at sophie@intelligentpod.com. I love hearing from you. Until next time, I'm Sophie Lane, and this is Intelligent Pod, where we believe that smarter systems can lead to a kinder, more thoughtful world. Take care and keep questioning the code.